primary day is 3 months away, and PIX11 News is your election headquarters, so we want to make sure that you're informed on where the candidates stand on the issues that are before you head to the polls.
Yeah, this morning we are focused on the Republican race for governor, and we are joined now by candidate Andrew Giuliani, the son of former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who also worked in the Trump administration and is running on a campaign to bring back New York. So, Mr. Giuliani, good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Dan, Hazel, good to be with you. I always loved coming on WPIX because my mother, I remember being a little guy and running around the studio. So.
There you go, right? Memory serving you well. So the last time we spoke, right, back in January, you were gearing up for the state Republican convention, which we know took place earlier this month. We covered it. Congressman Lee Zeldin officially getting the party's nomination. So how has that really impacted your campaign and getting those signatures to be on the ballot?
Well, it's doing great. I mean, the one thing is my wife probably doesn't love me so much because my kitchen table is turned into a petition, basically stacks. But the truth is we have already managed to get the 15,000 signatures that we need more than 2 weeks before we're actually going to hand in. We're now looking at all the congressional districts and making sure we have the minimum for all the congressional districts. What you need is 100 out of half of the congressional districts. We are basically there at this point. We're actually one congressional district short of that. But, you know, look, we are padding that. We want to make sure we're not just going to hand in with 16 or 17,000. We want to hand in with over 25,000 and make sure we have 18, 19, maybe 20 of the congressional districts. But, Dan, the beautiful part about this is the beginning of our get out the vote effort. Yeah. We've had so much voter contact throughout this petition process, just like we have for the first 10 months of the campaign. I think that's why we're leading in every single statewide poll.
Well, let's get to what voters want to know. They want to know about your campaign platform. So your main focus right now is repealing bail reform. Now, Governor Kathy Hochul, she's making headlines, trying to tweak the bail reform laws, but she's facing a lot of pushback from lawmakers in Albany and from voters, too. So what parts of bail reform would you try to repeal first, and how would you get Albany on your side?
Well, I know she's facing resistance from Albany. I don't know if she's necessarily facing resistance from voters. And I can tell you, I have so many independents and Democrats that come up to me expressing real concerns about bail reform. If you think about it, it really is the exact opposite of the theory that ended up working so well in practice in New York City in the 90s. Broken windows. Bail reform is the exact opposite approach of that right there. So what I would do if I were governor is I would utilize my leverage, go to the speaker, go to the Senate Majority Leader and say, hey, look, this is a priority for me because this is important for New Yorkers. If you can't appeal to their better instincts on this, then basically you need to say, I know this is my priority, so these are your priorities here. I'm not going to pass your priorities until you take care of this. That's how important this is. And remember, we focus obviously on New York City because you're based there, but Rochester had the most murders ever in recorded history last year by Halloween. Buffalo crimes went up 40%. Albany was up 30%. Yeah. This is all across the state, and the one constant over the last 3 years is bail reform. So the fact that she is mentioning this now, she's doing it because she saw a poll. Otherwise, she would have mentioned it during her State of the State speech.
So here's the thing.
During that 35-minute speech, she never mentioned it.
So some of the voters that are against changing bail reform are criminal rights advocates and groups who have come out and said, hey, this isn't the issue. Let's not change that. Let's take a look at Rikers Island. But you said that you would talk to the speaker and you would talk to the Assembly Speaker and the state Senate President. That's what Mayor Adams is doing right now, and it's not working, right? So how do you actually plan to get bipartisan support and make it work?
Well, first off, I think the mayor is not using his leverage. I mean, the mayor has a $98.5 billion budget. He can ultimately lean on the state assembly speaker and the state senate speaker. But at least the difference between the mayoral power and the gubernatorial power, as you know, through Pataki versus Silver, the governor of New York has an inordinate amount of power during the budget process as compared to the other 49 chief executives here. So what I would make sure is I would cut programs that they ultimately would want to pass if we would not get bail reform figured out on this during the budget process. So right now, we're going to see actually over the coming month or two when this budget gets passed, if this is a priority of Kathy Hochul or she's just politically posturing right here. I'm very curious. I think it's just politically posturing. But for me, that would be the number one issue that I would work on every single day for New Yorkers.
Now, we've heard you talk about the Giuliani playbook, saying you have it to turn around New York State. So what worked with your father, when he was in office, may not necessarily work right now. So what exactly is that playbook that you speak of, and how do you plan on implementing it?
Well, first and foremost, it's allowing police officers to be proactive again and not reactive. And I have to tell you, if you ultimately go into neighborhoods and some of the highest crime neighborhoods, almost everybody want more police officers, not less police officers. Unfortunately, it's a vocal minority that are yelling about racism with police. They are part of the solution and not part of the problem on this. And so for me, it's making sure they are proactive by repealing bail reform, by fighting against what Biaggi introduced a while back and protecting their qualified immunity. And more than anything is letting our police officers, not just our NYPD, but all around the state know that you're going to have a governor who's not going to get pushed around by the political winds, who's going to make sure that they back the blue in these tough situations. Look, if a police officer does something willfully illegal, then of course they deserve to go behind bars. But the truth is, policing, when it's done right, there are a lot of gray areas in there. We need to make sure our chief executives are backing them and are not getting blown around by leftist activists.
So holding officers accountable if they are in the wrong. Okay, that was going to be my question here.
If they willfully, I want to be very clear.
What does that mean?
Willfully. Policing is very gray area, especially when you do it proactively. But if they willfully do something wrong, then of course you hold them accountable. But the truth is, we need to back our blue in these tough situations.
Okay, so I want to also focus, what does that mean willfully, though? What are you referring to? Because there are instances right now that we saw a lot during the Black Lives Matter movement and right after George Floyd, where people were on the streets and officers were seen shoving. And are you saying that they would be held accountable?
I think any police officer that did something illegal and was intending to do that, of course they will. But look, there are a lot of bang-bang situations in policing right there where you're going into a drug den and you're trying to figure out whether that person has a weapon or not as you're turning the corner right there, and you're in a very dangerous situation. I understand that it's very difficult in a split second to determine whether or not somebody has a weapon that's going to kill you and bring you back to your family or not.
All right. I also want to focus on education right now. It's a big part of New York and New York City, right? A component of your campaign. So what would you like to see more of when it comes to schooling in New York? And are you a favor of mayoral control of schools?
Charter schools. When you're talking about what I want to see more of, I want to see more of charter schools. We're capped in New York City at 270 charter schools and in New York State at 460. I want to make sure that by the end of my first term, we actually lift that cap to over 1,000. If you think of charter schools across New York State, 93% of them have been successful. That's performing at a far better rate than our public schools are right there. Also, what I want to do is I want to make sure we are utilizing very well our tax voucher program. That way, parents truly are the primary stakeholders through the budget, through money right there. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's making sure that parents have the right through their tax dollars. Look, it costs $28,000 a year in New York to make sure that we educate our students through the public school system. I think parents should have the opportunity, if those public schools are not performing well, to take those tax dollars, bring them to a private school, a parochial school, a yeshiva, or have a charter school option.
We're running out of time here, but we do want to talk to you about what really is on top of mind of many New Yorkers, and that's the COVID pandemic. We're appearing to be turning the corner, but there are warnings of this new variant that could be causing another spike in cases across the state. So you're actually against mask and vaccine mandates. So how would you protect New Yorkers in the event of another COVID surge?
Well, I think you get information out there, and I think that's the most important thing. But here's the thing. We're now on our third year of this. We need to make sure, as somebody who's running to become the chief executive of the state, that I am getting the information out to the 19.5 million New Yorkers. Not mandating that they need to get a shot in their arm, not mandating that a toddler, which right now Governor Kathy Hochul still has, our 2-, 3-, and 4-year-olds wearing these masks. To me, that is so disgusting. And the fact that she is not being called out more by the media on this, I think really shows the implicit bias. So for me, I want to make sure that I'm very clear. Not only am I against the mandates, but anyone who's lost their job because of these unconstitutional mandates, I will give them their job back on day one with back pay.
All right, Andrew, Mr. Giuliani, thank you so much for your time this morning. We hope you will come back and talk to us again.
Always, and I look forward to coming back in studio so I can run around in there like I used to when I was
Bring
2
back
years
the
old,
memories
so.
with Mom, huh?
I need to get a workout. I've been eating so much pizza on the trail, so a good workout will help.
Okay. All right. It's going to be a long campaign season until June, so we'll see you soon.